Hey guys, this one is for the real OGs. This one is for the real OGs who've been watching me for quite some time. Even before I decided that I would start actually posting on YouTube and not just hanging out around. So basically, alright, I'm sorry. My bad about the Discord mod intro. Today we're talking all tomorrows. This is just a little something, you know, bringing around the spooky and the oogie for the Halloween month. If you guys didn't know, this is also my birthday month, which means you owe me $1 million. Or I'll take 1 million subs and also I'll also take 1 million subs. Okay. Fastest growing YouTube channel, by the way. Okay. Anyways, if you've been watching my content for a while, you probably have an idea of what I'm going to talk about, what All Tomorrows is. When I spoke about this piece of literature on TikTok, it really blew up my TikTok account. I want to say this is probably one of the things that really blew up my first TikTok account, and honestly I'd love to attract the same nerds. Like, I want those same people who are into that stuff to come to my YouTube. So I've decided to rehash a classic, and this is one of my favorite horror stories pretty much of all time, and just a beautiful work of speculative fiction, really. The book All Tomorrows is centered around the idea of what would happen to humanity when we became a galactic civilization if we were to encounter a race of aliens much more technologically advanced than us. And when I say much more technologically advanced, I'm not talking about shit like warp travel, you know what I mean? They have the ability to quickly and efficiently genetically modify anything that they come across to their own will. In comparison to humanity, even at the level that we are in the book, where we are a galactic civilization with dozens, if not hundreds, of planetary systems integrated into the humanity web, for us to be at that level of technology and then to encounter an alien race that to us appears as if they were gods due to their amount of technological advancements, just lets you know how far ahead of us the Q were. So I've spent so much time mulling over this book and considering it one of my favorites. And there's a lot of different topics in the book that I want to get into, but before we get into the real meat and potatoes of it, I'd like to just give a blanket background of the book and how humanity got to that point, just to give an understanding, really, of what's happening here. At first it was just Earth, as we know, and then there's Mars. There were Earth people and there were Mars people, right? Earth was basically getting rich as fuck off of Mars resources. All the resources were being sold, and Earth was profiting off of them as if Earth produced the resources. Now, generations go down, and the Martians no longer consider themselves as, like, Earthlings, you know what I mean? Like, they're not the same people. They're still people, but they're not the same. So now it's like, basically you have two different races of humans who one is literally getting their shit stolen from them while the other planet just gets richer and richer. That's basically what was happening, right? Trade war, intergalactic shutdown, until Earth scientists come up with a solution. They would genetically combine the genes of the Martians and Earthlings to create a subset of humans known as the Star People, who would be more efficient than both of them at surviving in space, surviving the extreme conditions of space. And now that I think about it, maybe just that one action of genetically modifying another race of humans is what brought the Q down upon them. And for me to think that, I like to explain to you a little bit about who the Q are and what they believe. So, as I said before, the Q is an extremely technologically advanced alien civilization, right? But the mindset of the Q is skewed. They believe that they are destined to rule the universe. They are the one true rulers of the universe. That is what they believe, that the Q are the one true rulers of the universe. They believe that they are meant to inherit it in all of its greatness, and it is simply not big enough for multiple intelligent species to rule over. Which is why the Q, long before they had ever encountered humans, had been systematically erasing any other intelligent species from the universe. So, long after the creation of the Star People, many planets are populated by Star People. There's, like I said, dozens of human planets, each very far away. Unique cultures would crop up from each of them, of course. So yeah, there's dozens of these human planets, and when the Q discovers these planets, for some reason, instead of just fucking eradicating the planet, instead of just blowing it up and being done with it, they would go as far as to genetically modify each human planet that they came across into an abomination, a grotesque abomination, far, far, far from the humanity that we know today. See, to the Q, we were no more than ants. And what we represented with our small feats compared to them was just a loss of power to them within a couple million years. Within a couple million years, they perceived humanity as being able to overthrow them, which is why the systematic destruction began. So now we'll get into what humans were made into. This is the point of the video, to talk about what the Q would change humanity into. So firstly, let's talk about the mantelopes. And each of these genetic modifications obviously is absolutely cruel, but each comes with its own like devastating reason why it's so bad. A special form of suffering for each. So on this planet, humans were twisted into a sort of living memory card, right? Their intellect was enhanced and their minds were kept. See, many times when the Q would change a human species, they would dampen their sentience, dampen their brain's ability to grow beyond a certain point. With the mantelopes, they were extended, they were advanced in their capabilities mentally. Their bodies would twist into the form of that of a grazing animal, walking on 4 legs. So, on the mantelope's planet, they were bred as singers because they also had a genetically modified throat that would produce like really beautiful music. And they were also bred as memory retainers, living recording devices for the Q. And this is one of the true sadnesses of the mantelope. Their intellect was not stolen, it was enhanced. So therefore, they could perceive everything that was happening around them. The task that the Q had designed for the mantelopes required sometimes even limitless memory. After the reign of the Q is when they would fully lose their ability to walk bipedally, because some of them still retained the ability to walk bipedally, though they had been twisted into an animal form, and the entire species became quadrupedal. Now, if you can for a moment, try to imagine that a super advanced supercomputer mind trapped in the body of a grazing beast. The mantelopes knew the solution to their problem. They could have saved themselves had it not been for the fact that they were trapped in bodies that literally could not enact their will onto the world. They had hooves, bro. There's no thumbs to grab. And that's step 1. That's step 1. And the mantelopes also represent a unique case among the Q because while I can think of a couple more where the sentience wasn't stolen, this is the only one that I can think of where their sentience was enhanced. So they got put on a plane of higher perception and lower physical capability. But what use is a hyper-enhanced mind to a grazing animal? They soon became a melancholic species with entire religions and practices formed around their desperation and despair in the situation. And an intelligent mind cannot be sustained on grasses and little plants, and so their minds would eventually devolve. And can you imagine that first moment realizing that your offspring wasn't intelligent, that they weren't sentient, that you had given birth and it was genuinely the mind of a beast in there? Can you imagine the feeling of looking into your child's eyes and seeing that they are an animal? They're an animal now. I'm sure though that some of them were grateful for this because it meant that their suffering was coming to an end. Their children would not perceive the world as they had. Their children would not understand how fucked it was that they were stuck this way, because they wouldn't have this crazy, intelligent human mind stuck in a deer. Like they say, ignorance is bliss, and with an inability to comprehend your torment, you're not tormented. Next up on our list is the Tempters, and one thing about this book, each human species is uniquely horrific. Like, there's just a way to just like, they're just like, well, and these guys, they did this to them. To become a living decoration is a strange fate made real by the Q. The Tempters are unrecognizable as ever being human, and it is simply bizarre that they survived after the Q left or functioned at all in that state in the first place. The men and women of the star people of this planet were morphed into two very different looking creatures, though they remain the same species. The females were 2-meter tall cones of flesh and bone. I don't fucking know. Okay. They were rooted into the ground and grew upwards like some sort of evil, grotesque tree. It is unknown and also miraculous that they did not go extinct when the Q left their planet. It is unknown how that didn't happen. The males instead were these imp-like little monkey creatures, which were controlled by chemical and sound signals by the very large female. These imps, for the most part, did not really possess free will, but based on the mating cycle, I'm sure that some of them did possess some degree of free will. Like I said, each female possessed dozens of males that would obey her, like I said, through pheromones and vocal signals. Some would gather food for her, others would keep her clean, while others still would fend off predators and such, stand guard, you know. The males were chosen by females to mate based on a few criteria. First being obedience, secondly being physical strength, and third being dumbness, as that was sort of a prerequisite to just doing whatever you're told all the time. And the way that they mated is also one of the more disturbing parts of this creature. The selected males would enter into the female's tube-like vagina, which was literally just a massive hole in the ground, like next to her. She'd have just like get in the pit, and he would fully jump into it. It's not like he would he'd fully jump into it. So God knows what happens to him in the tube, right? And in this species, mostly males are birthed, of course. But once in a while, during a select period, the female flesh cone will birth other females, who will be carefully taken off by attentive males to be rooted somewhere else. And as strange as they were, the tempters actually had a chance of redeveloping sentience and possibly a civilization or society, as skewed as it was. Sadly, however, a comet would completely obliterate them, which ended their part of humanity's story. This next one is one of my favorite human evolutions, not because they were successful against the Q. Ultimately, they were not. But because, in all honesty, this is what I see, like, realistically happening. Like, realistically, this is what I think humanity would do. As far as, like, the humans that I know today, I think that this is probably what would happen. Or there's a second creature that I think this would happen, but this is one that I think. And these are the blind folk. See, the star people on this world were one of the last ones to get hit, right? They had a little bit of insight, emergency calls from other worlds, lost communications from entire star systems. They knew something incomprehensible was heading their way, something that they could not fight, even with the technology that humanity had accumulated by this time. In comparison to the Q, we were no more than apes playing with a stick in the mud, and, maybe thinking about discovering fire soon. Like, that was our level compared to the Q. And so, this planet of humanity, knowing that they were outmatched, knowing that they had no real recourse, they dug. And they kept digging. They dug continent-sized caverns in their planet. They hoped desperately that they could all hide underground and the Q would pass by their planet and not realize. But I feel like they probably didn't have enough time to destroy all their cities and just any signs of life, you know what I mean? I don't think that you guys... something tells me they didn't have enough time to really sell that this was just a dead planet. The Q found them without effort. That's the most fucked up part of it. With no effort. Consider that statement. They got to the planet and they were like, oh, they dug underground. And then they twisted and warped them just like every other planet of star people that the Q got their hands on. Simple. And thus emerged the blind folk. For their insolence, am I a pirate? For their insolence of ever trying to escape the Q, these people were engineered into a sort of mole man, perfectly suited for the environment that they tried to escape into. To prepare them for this world of darkness, the Q completely took their eyes away, leaving nothing but a smooth, flat piece of skin, as if there was never meant for anything to be there at all. With long whiskers and long fingers, they fit right into the ecosystem in the cave which had developed around them. See, this is like a punishment planet. The Q didn't fucking stay here. They literally just made them into mole people and were like, alright, we're out of here. We don't even want the planet. Fuck you guys. We just made you mole people. That's basically what they did. And to top it off, due to their lack of sight and their cavernous environment, they developed a form of echolocation, by which I mean banshee-like screams that would bounce off of the cave walls, letting them know where they were at. These were incredibly shy creatures who were often heard and not seen. Their ears were giant and mouse-like. And it is unknown if they could have ever evolved back into a recognizable form of humanity, as the glacial and tectonic plate movement of their planet would snuff out their cave environments one by one. Okay guys, this is today's last one. There are so many creatures in this book and I really want to keep talking about it. So guys, please get this video to like 30 likes and I'll definitely do more. Let's get into the last creature for today. On a moon with 1/5 of Earth's gravity is where a human subspecies named the Striders would be found. The Star People were a galactic civilization after all, so even celestial objects that weren't necessarily planets would still be put to use. So humanity resided on this moon for quite some time. And when the Q encountered this place, they were of course genetically engineered to suit their world, and their world was one of wonders. Grass grew high like trees, and the trees were like the skyscrapers of humanity's past. In this world, not only were the humans modified, but every creature was by the Q. For some reason, they were like, and we'll get everybody. Get everybody in there. Get them all in a line, and we'll just... That's them injecting the modification juice. I don't know. And so these skyscraper forests were full of bizarrely spectacular fauna, descended from humanity's pets and livestock. At that point, they would have been changed beyond any ability to pinpoint what they might have come from. The Striders' bodies had been stretched to an intense point of thinness and flatness. Great blooms of skin hung from them, flowing in the breeze to release heat waste from their bodies. Being that thin and that flat, overheating was a huge problem for them on this world. The world was left peaceful, but the Striders were also left incredibly fragile. A strong breeze could send them falling, and a great fall could shatter their bones. A fall from a tree in this world would prove fatal for the Striders. The survival of the Striders here was merely due to the merciful nature of their garden moon world. However, this peace was not everlasting. From the humble earth chicken would evolve a fearsome predator, resembling even the dinosaurs of Earth's past. These dinosaurs would ravage any creature without defense to protect itself, and so the Striders were wiped out. I really love this series, guys, and I just love weird, creepy, strange books in general. So if you have any Oogie books that you think I would like, you can recommend it. I don't really read murder stuff, so just keep it strange. I like alien stuff. I like interesting things. Definitely recommend it to me, and maybe I'll read it. Anyways, that's it for now, guys. Please, if you want me to read more, I will do it. Just tell me. Bye!